I woke up this morning feeling something was off. Walking down the street, people kept staring at me, and an older lady even insisted on giving me an apple. It got weirder at the office. The receptionist smiled at me, and the beautiful manager patted my shoulder, saying I had potential. I thought my luck with women had turned until I was cornered in the stairwell by the boss's daughter, Su Wanqing. She stared at me and said I had turned into a male succubus. She also said she would keep my secret on the condition that I belonged completely to her. I tried to escape, but she caught me and locked me up in her villa, calling it our love nest. My name is Lin Mo. I'm just an ordinary office worker, an intern at a fairly large company. My daily tasks consist of serving tea, fetching water, and printing documents. I was practically invisible. The change started the day before yesterday. First, I kept having all sorts of strange dreams at night. Dreams where I seemed to be able to sway people's thoughts. I would wake up with no energy, and my skin always felt hot. Yesterday was even stranger. Squeezing onto the subway in the morning, an older lady next to me suddenly stared at me, blushing, and said, "Young man, you look so vibrant." She insisted on giving me an apple, which left me utterly confused. It got even more exaggerated at the office. The receptionist, who usually ignored me, smiled when she saw me and even made me a cup of coffee. Even the beautiful manager of my department patted my shoulder and said I had potential, which was both surprising and flattering. At the time, I just thought my luck with women had changed and didn't think anything else of it, until I looked in a mirror this morning and realized something was wrong. The person in the mirror was still me, but my eyes seemed brighter, my skin was so fair it didn't look like a man's, and my lips were rosy, especially when I smiled. I even found it a bit dazzling myself. What was even stranger was that I seemed to be able to feel the emotions of the people around me. When I passed by the next cubicle, I could clearly know that the guy with glasses was thinking about what to have for dinner, and I could even faintly hear the murmuring in his heart. I was so scared I almost swallowed my toothbrush. What on earth was happening to me? On the way to work, this feeling became even more obvious. For the girls passing by, I could feel the throbbing in their hearts. One girl even walked straight into a telephone pole, her eyes still staring at me. My heart pounded, and I quickened my pace towards the company. Our company's heiress, the boss's only daughter, Su Wanqing, rarely came to the company. Even when she did, she would only stay in her exclusive office on the top floor. I don't know what happened today, but she actually appeared in the stairwell. I was holding a stack of documents and was about to walk around her when she called out to me. "Lin Mo, right?" Her voice was sweet, but her eyes were icy cold, completely different from the smiling young lady I saw at the company's annual party. I quickly stopped, bowing and scraping as I answered, "Yes, Miss Su." She took 2 steps forward, her high heels making a crisp sound on the stairs, approaching me step by step. I could smell the faint scent of her perfume, and the strong possessiveness in her heart. This feeling was too clear, as if a voice was shouting in my head that she wanted to capture me and hide me in a place where only she could see me. I shrank back in fear, and several documents in my arms fell to the ground. She bent down and picked up a document, but didn't look at the contents. Her eyes were fixed on my face, and a strange smile slowly formed on her lips. "You seem different from before," she said slowly, her fingers stroking the edge of the document. My heart skipped a beat, and I forced myself to remain calm. "You must be joking, President Su. I'm still the same old me." "Are you?" She looked up, her gaze hooking me like a fishhook. "Then why did the security guard downstairs look at you like you were some kind of rare treasure? And Auntie Zhang in the pantry upstairs, why did she give you all the imported fruit she had saved for the chairman?" I was stunned. How did she know about these things? She took a step forward, so close that I could feel her warm breath on my neck, making my whole body tingle. And also, she lowered her voice to a whisper that only the two of us could hear. "This strange aura you have. You can't fool anyone with it." My heart was pounding. Did she know? How could she possibly know? What are you talking about, President Su?" "I don't understand," I stammered, my hands and feet beginning to tremble. Suddenly, she reached out, and her fingertips lightly brushed against my cheek. The icy touch made me shiver. "Stop pretending, Lin Mo." Her smile deepened, but there was no warmth in her eyes. "You've become a succubus, haven't you? And a male one at that. How rare." Her words struck me like a bolt of lightning. My mind went blank. A succubus? Wasn't that something you only read about in novels? You're talking nonsense. I practically shouted, my voice trembling. She seemed amused by my reaction and gently patted my cheek. Whether I'm talking nonsense or not, you know the truth in your heart. That ability to attract others, to even influence their emotions. Doesn't it feel novel? My mouth hung open, unable to utter a single word as cold sweat dripped down my forehead. What do you think would happen if word of this got out? She tilted her head, like a curious child, but her words were laced with a heavy threat. Would someone capture you for research? Would you be driven out as a monster? A chill ran down my spine. Her words stabbed at my heart like daggers, and I dared not imagine such consequences. Miss Sue, I'm begging you, please don't tell anyone. I spoke in a near-pleading tone. Dignity was worthless at a time like this. Seeing my panicked state, a glint of satisfaction flashed in her eyes. She reached out, wrapped her arms around my neck, and pressed my face against her chest. I can keep a secret. Her voice was soft, with a coquettish hint that only frightened me more. As long as you agree to one condition. I quickly asked, what condition? As long as it's something I can do, I'll definitely agree. She lifted her head, the possessiveness in her eyes nearly overflowing, and said, word by word, be mine. Belong completely to me and me alone. You can't look at anyone else. You can't think about anyone else. You can only stay by my side. I was stunned. What kind of condition was this? Miss Sue, this isn't appropriate, is it? I'm just an intern, and besides. Before I could finish my words, she cut me off. Her gaze turned vicious in an instant, and the hand gripping my neck tightened. Not suitable, she sneered. Then do you want everyone to know you're a monster? I'm not a monster, I struggled to say. Whether you are or not isn't up to you to decide. She moved closer, whispering against my ear. If you don't agree, by tomorrow the entire company, no, the entire city will know that Lin M.O. is a male succubus who lives by seducing others. I could feel the madness in her heart. She wasn't joking. She would actually do it. I'll agree to it. Under her stare, I uttered the words in near despair. Hearing my answer, her expression immediately softened again, even holding a hint of excitement, like a child who had just gotten a beloved toy. I knew you would agree. She released her hand, straightened my collar, and said with a grin, from now on, you belong to me. She picked up the documents from the floor, stuffed them back into my arms, and then took my hand. Come on, let's go to the top floor. I'll set up a new desk for you. You won't have to do menial work downstairs anymore. Like a puppet on a string, I was pulled by her towards the top floor, my mind a complete blank. What was this? I was a perfectly normal person. How did I become a succubus and get forced by a rich young lady to be her man? When we reached the top floor, her exclusive office was huge, decorated with luxury and refinement, a stark contrast to the cubicle I was in before. She pulled me into a small room inside the main office. To my surprise, it contained a bed, a wardrobe, and a dressing table. You will live here from now on. Pointing at the bed, she said, this way, I can see you whenever I want. My eyes widened. Live here? Miss Sue, I don't think that's a good idea. I have a home. Home? She frowned. You don't need a home anymore. Wherever I am is your home. But, no buts. She cut me off, her eyes starting to look dangerous again. Have you forgotten our agreement? I could only swallow my words and stand there in silence. She nodded with satisfaction, then began to size me up, the desire in her eyes making me very uncomfortable. Those clothes you're wearing are hideous. As she spoke, she opened the wardrobe, which was surprisingly filled with all sorts of men's clothing, all looking very expensive. These are all for you. Go on, change into them and let me see. I took the clothes, but didn't move from my spot. Hurry up, she urged, her tone carrying an undeniable command. I had no choice but to take the clothes and go into the restroom. When I came out in the changed clothes, her eyes lit up. She walked over quickly and circled around me. So beautiful. As I expected, you look good in anything. She reached out to touch my arm, her gaze hazy. See, you were meant to wear these things to stay by my side. You shouldn't be downstairs in that kind of place, mixing with those common people. Her hand moved slowly upward, slid across my chest, and stopped at my neck, caressing it gently. I could feel the desire in her heart, growing stronger and stronger, making my whole body uneasy. Director Sue, I still have to work. I wanted to push her away, but I didn't dare. Work? She chuckled. From now on, your job is to be with me. As she spoke, she suddenly stood on her tiptoes and kissed me on the cheek. I recoiled as if burned, her warmth lingering on my cheek. Seeing my reaction, she smiled even more brightly. Shy? There will be plenty more to make you shy in the future. For the next few days, I was truly kept under house arrest by her on the top floor. She didn't let me go downstairs or contact anyone. My phone was also taken away by her. Every day, when she went to work, she would keep me in her office, making me sit in the chair next to her, either watching her work or just staring into space. When she got tired from work, she would come over to hug me or sleep with her head on my lap, like a clingy kitten. But if I showed the slightest reluctance, or if my gaze drifted even for a moment toward the door, she would immediately become irritable. One time, a secretary from downstairs came up to deliver a document. I glanced at the secretary a couple of extra times, and she tore up the document on the spot, scolded the secretary until she cried, and said that no one was allowed to come upstairs without permission from then on. I was so scared that I never dared to look around carelessly again. At night, she wouldn't let me go back to that small room to sleep, insisting that I sleep with her in the large bed in the office. She was a restless sleeper, always holding me, clinging to me like an octopus. The slightest movement would wake her, and she would ask if I was trying to run away. I could only lie motionless, letting her hold me, unable to sleep well each night. Tonight, I couldn't take it anymore. While she was sound asleep, I gently pushed her hand away, wanting to get out of bed for some air. Just as I reached the edge of the bed, she grabbed my wrist. Her eyes were open, shining frighteningly in the darkness. Where are you going? Her voice was husky with sleep, yet it carried a chill. I need to use the restroom, I lied. She stared at me for a long time, as if trying to determine if I was lying. After a good while, she finally let go of my hand. Go and come back quickly. Don't want her off. I nodded quickly and fled into the restroom as if escaping. Looking at myself in the mirror, my face was pale, my eyes haggard, completely devoid of the vitality I had just a few days ago. Is this really what I want? To lose my freedom like this, to be imprisoned by her side, all for the sake of keeping a secret. I'm not willing. I want to escape. Once this thought emerged, it could no longer be suppressed. Returning to the bed, I feigned sleep, but my mind was racing with plans of escape. The top floor had only one elevator and one stairwell. The elevator required her card to operate, and the door to the stairwell was usually locked with a key in her possession. Forcing my way out was not an option. I had to find a way to get the key. In the following days, I began to deliberately curry favor with her. I obediently did whatever she asked, and when she held me, I would gently hug her back. She seemed very happy, thinking I had truly accepted her, and her guard over me relaxed a little. Occasionally, she would let me spend some time on the small terrace on the top floor. I knew my chance was coming. This afternoon, she received a phone call. It seemed something had happened at home, and she needed to go back. Before she left, she called me to her side and repeatedly told me to be good and stay in the office, not to run around, and that she would be back soon. Wait for me to come back, and we'll have dinner together. She held me and kissed my face several times, her eyes filled with reluctance to leave. I nodded and said with a smile, "Okay, I'll wait for you to come back." Watching her enter the elevator, the smile on my face vanished instantly, and my heart began to pound. I frantically searched her office. She usually kept her keys in the desk drawer. I opened the first drawer. It was full of documents. The second drawer contained cosmetics. The third drawer was locked. It had to be in there. I was sweating with anxiety, searching everywhere for something to pick the lock. Finally, I saw the hairpin she had left on the desk. I picked up the hairpin and, mimicking what I'd seen on TV, inserted it into the keyhole and began to fiddle with it. After several tries, I finally heard a click. The lock was open. Inside the drawer, there was indeed a string of keys. I immediately spotted the one labeled stairwell. I grabbed the keys and ran toward the stairwell. Opening the door, I glanced back at the office, feeling a bit conflicted, but mostly thrilled with the excitement of escape. I closed the door and, ran down the stairs without stopping for a moment. When I got to the third floor, I heard the sound of the elevator, as if someone was coming up. I was so scared I quickly hid in the emergency exit nearby, holding my breath. The elevator doors opened, and it was Su Wanqing. How did she get back so fast? I saw her standing at the entrance to the top floor stairwell, holding a key in her hand, as if she were trying to open something. She quickly discovered the door had been opened. Her face instantly turned deathly pale, then contorted with rage. Lin Montag, get out here! Her voice, tinged with sobs and madness, echoed in the stairwell. Terrified, I clapped a hand over my mouth, not daring to make sound. She began searching floor by floor, calling my name as she went, her voice getting closer and closer. Lin Mo, stop hiding. I know you're in here. Come out. If you come out obediently, I can forgive you. We can go back to how things were, okay? If you don't come out, I'll make you regret it when I find you. Her tone shifted between soft and harsh, making my heart pound with fear. Seeing that she was about to reach the third floor, I couldn't wait any longer. I pushed open the emergency exit door and bolted downstairs, paying no attention to where I was going, just wanted to get as far away from her as possible. Lin Mo, where do you think you're running? She saw me and shrieked, chasing after me. I could feel her anger and panic, and that terrifyingly intense obsession. I ran for my life, not daring to look back, the sound of her high heels echoing relentlessly behind me. When I reached the first-floor lobby, many of my colleagues stared at us in surprise, clueless as to what was happening. Grab him. Don't let him get away. Su Wanqing yelled to the security guards, pointing at me. The guards hesitated for a moment, but despite their confusion, they instinctively started to close in on me. In a panic, I darted towards the fire exit, but I was seized by the arm by a guard after just 2 steps. The guard's grip was terrifyingly strong. I couldn't break free no matter how much I struggled. Su Wanqing caught up, slightly out of breath and with her hair in disarray, but her face wore a crazed smile of someone who had recovered something they had lost. Caught you. I finally caught you. She walked up to me and reached out to stroke my face, her eyes filled with paranoia. I knew you couldn't get away. Our colleagues stood around, stunned, pointing and whispering amongst themselves. My face burned with shame and indignation, but the security guards held me fast, leaving me helpless. Sparing no thought for the onlookers, Su Wanqing said to the guards, "Take him to my car." I was half carried, half dragged out of the company building like a dead dog by 2 guards and shoved into a black sedan. Su Wanqing got in the passenger seat and turned to look at me, her eyes filled with an even stronger possessiveness than before. Lin Mo, why did you run? She asked softly, a hint of grievance in her voice. Haven't I been good enough to you? I turned my head away, ignoring her. She didn't get angry, just kept looking at me with a strange smile playing on her lips. The car drove for a long time, finally stopping in front of a villa that looked like a castle. I was pulled out of the car by the guards. Looking up at the villa, a sense of foreboding washed over me. Welcome home, Lin Mo, Su Wanqing said, walking to my side and taking my arm with a childlike smile. From now on, this will be our home. I shook off her hand and took a step back. I'm not staying here. I want to go home. The smile vanished from her face in an instant, her eyes turning icy cold. I've told you, where I am is your home. You're not going anywhere. She gave the guards a look, and they immediately began dragging me into the villa. The interior was magnificently decorated, like a palace, but I was in no mood to appreciate it. They dragged me to a room on the 2nd floor. It was large and cozily furnished, looking like a bedroom. You'll be living here from now on, Su Wanqing said as she walked in, waving for the guards to leave. Don't even think about escaping. This villa is surrounded by bodyguards. You won't get away. I looked around and found that this room had no windows, only a single door with a combination lock on it. This was no bedroom. It was clearly a cage. Su Wanqing, you let me out. I yelled at her, my heart filled with anxiety and fear. She walked up to me, raised her hand to stroke my face, her eyes filled with obsession. Let you out? Let you out so you can run away again? I won't give you another chance. This is illegal confinement. It's against the law. She laughed as if she had heard a joke. Against the law? In this city, there's nothing I, Su Wanqing, dare not do. As she spoke, She suddenly leaned in and kissed me on the lips. I was stunned by her kiss, and then I came to my senses, raising my hand to hit her. But as soon as my hand was raised, she grabbed it. Her strength was surprisingly much greater than I had imagined. "Don't resist me, Lin M.O." Her eyes became dangerous. "Be good and listen to me, and I will be very good to you." She pressed my hand against the wall, her body pressing tightly against mine. I could feel her heart beating rapidly. "You smell so good." She lowered her head and sniffed at my neck, her breathing becoming rapid, better than any perfume I've ever smelled. I could feel the intense desire in her, burning like a flame, making me feel uncomfortable all over. "Let go of me." I struggled, but she held me so tightly that I couldn't break free at all. Su Wanqing seemed to sense the change in me. She looked up at me with a triumphant smile in her eyes. "See, it's not that you don't like me, right?" I clenched my jaw, trying not to react, but my body was becoming more and more disobedient. But she acted as if she hadn't heard, the desire in her eyes growing stronger and stronger. "Linimo, you are mine, and can only be mine," she whispered in my ear, her voice bewitching. "From the moment you became a succubus, you were destined to be mine." I could feel the resistance in my heart gradually weakening. This wasn't what I wanted, but I just couldn't control myself. I closed my eyes and gave up struggling. Perhaps this was my fate. The events that followed are a bit of a blur. By the time I was fully conscious again, it was the next morning. Sunlight streamed through the crack in the door, casting a long shadow on the ground. I moved my body and felt sore all over, as if I'd been run over by a car. Su Wanqing was lying next to me, sleeping soundly with a contented smile on her face, one hand still gripping my arm tightly. I looked at her face, my heart filled with mixed emotions. Did I hate her? Of course. She had locked me in here, stripping me of my freedom. But strangely, the intense resistance in my heart was gone. There was even a hint of reliance. The thought startled me. How could I have such an idea? I tried to gently pull my arm back, but the slightest movement woke her. "You're awake?" She rubbed her eyes, looked at me with a sweet smile, and asked, "How are you feeling?" I turned my head away and said nothing. She wasn't angry. Instead, she reached out and stroked my hair. "Are you hungry? I had the kitchen make something for you." She got out of bed, wearing a silk robe. I quickly shut my eyes, not daring to look again. She seemed to notice my embarrassment and chuckled. "After everything we've done, what are you still shy about?" My face flushed, and my heart grew even more flustered. She walked over and kissed my cheek. "Be a good boy and wait here. I'll go have someone bring the food up." After she left, I lay in bed, my mind a chaotic mess. I realized something felt off about me. There was a persistent emptiness in my heart, as if something was missing. It wasn't until Su Wanqing returned with breakfast that the hollow feeling finally disappeared. Looking at her, a terrifying thought surfaced in my mind. I can't leave her. The thought sent a chill down my spine. How could I be unable to leave the person who imprisoned me? Was it because of my succubus body, or was it because of what happened yesterday? Su Wanqing placed the breakfast on the bedside table and sat on the edge of the bed to feed me. "Is it good?" she asked with a smile, her eyes full of doting affection. I nodded, mechanically opening my mouth. She fed me a few bites, then suddenly stopped and looked in my eyes. "Linimo, are you starting to feel like you can't leave me?" My heart skipped a beat. How did she know? As if she had read my mind, she said with a smile, "It's perfectly normal. Once a male succubus is with someone, they develop a dependency on that person. In your terms, it's called acknowledging a master." Acknowledging a master. The word struck me like a bolt of lightning. I had actually acknowledged a master. Acknowledged this woman who imprisoned me as my master? No, that's impossible, I said, agitated. How could I acknowledge you as my master? She placed a hand on my shoulder to calm me down. It's a succubus's instinct. You can't control it. You knew this would happen all along. I stared at her, my eyes filled with anger and disbelief. She nodded, a hint of guilt on her face. "I'm sorry, Lin Montauk. I just wanted you too much. I can't lose you. So you set me up?" "I didn't mean to," she said, grabbing my hand and placing it on her chest. "But I don't regret it. This way, you'll never leave me." I looked at her, my heart filled with despair. It turned out from the very beginning, I never had a chance to escape. In the days that followed, I completely gave up the idea of running away, because I found that as long as Su Wanqing was not by my side for more than an hour, I would feel uncomfortable all over. My heart would panic, as if I had some serious illness. Only when she is by my side can I feel at ease. Su Wanqing seemed very satisfied with my state and became better and better to me. She bought me a lot of beautiful clothes and decorated that room more and more warmly. She no longer locked me in the room, allowing me to move freely in the villa and even to take a walk in the garden. But I know that this is only freedom on the surface. The bodyguard around the villa are always there, and I can't escape at all. And even if I could run out, where could I go? I can't live without her anymore. This afternoon, Su Wanqing took me to the garden to enjoy the sun. She sat on a lounge chair, and I lay on her lap like a docile cat. She stroked my hair while humming an unknown tune. The warm sunlight on my body felt very comfortable. "Linimo, look, isn't it nice here?" She looked down at me and said with a smile, "No one else to bother us, just the two of us." I didn't say anything, just leaned into her embrace. She laughed, holding me tighter. "That's more like it." She kissed my forehead. "Stay here with me from now on, okay?" I nodded, my heart devoid of any thought of resistance. Maybe this wasn't so bad. At least I wouldn't have to live in fear anymore, wouldn't have to think about escaping. Just then, a bodyguard hurried over and whispered a few words in Su Wanqing's ear. The look on Su Wanqing's face changed instantly, her eyes turning ice cold. "Got it. Let him in," she said coldly. The bodyguard nodded and turned to leave. I looked at her curiously. "What's wrong?" She stroked my face and forced a smile. "It's nothing. An annoying person is coming." Before long, a young man in a suit followed the bodyguard in. The man was quite handsome, but his complexion was poor, and he had a gloomy look about him. "Wanqing, I knew I'd find you here." The man walked up to Su Wanqing, his tone unfriendly. Su Wanqing ignored him, instead holding me tighter. "What are you doing here?" "I came to see you." The man's gaze fell on me, his eyes full of hostility. "Who is he?" "None of your business," Su Wanqing said coldly. "If that's what you came to ask, you can leave now." "Wanqing, you can't be so willful." The man's tone became agitated. "We're getting engaged next month. How could you?" "Engaged?" Su Wanqing laughed, her eyes filled with scorn. "Who told you I was going to marry you?" "Your uncle and Anne agreed to it." "Their agreement is useless. I don't agree." Su Wanqing looked at him, her eyes icy. "I already have someone I like." As she spoke, she lowered her head and kissed me on the cheek, the gesture intimate and natural. The man's face instantly turned ashen, and he stared at me, his eyes looking as if they would spit fire. Him? Some wild brat from who knows where. The man pointed at me, his tone dripping with contempt. Su Wanqing immediately shielded me, glaring fiercely at the man. "You're not allowed to talk about him like that." "Wanqing, are you insane?" The man looked at her in disbelief. "For someone like him, you're going to defy the Su family?" "I'll say it again. I like him, and I'm going to be with him." Su Wanqing's attitude was resolute. "If you come to bother us again, don't blame me for being rude." The man looked at Su Wanqing, then at me, trembling with anger. "Fine, just fine," he said, pointing at us. "You just wait." With that, he turned and stormed away in a rage. Watching his retreating back, a flicker of fear sparked within me. "Who is he?" "No one important." Su Wanqing stroked my head and said with a smile, "Don't mind him. As long as I'm here, no one can hurt you." But I could sense that beneath her calm exterior, her heart was anything but peaceful. Instead, it was filled with vigilance and a hint of killing intent. The appearance of this man was like a stone tossed into a tranquil pond, sending ripples spreading out in all directions. That night, as Su Wanqing held me in her arms, she couldn't fall asleep, tossing and turning restlessly. "What's wrong?" I asked her. She sighed, holding me tighter. "It's nothing, just a little worried." "Worried about that man?" She nodded. "He is the young master of the Leaf family. His family and our Su family have been friends for generations. He is a very petty and vengeful person. Seeing us like this today, he will definitely not let it go." "Then what should we do?" I was a little worried. She caressed my face, her eyes growing firm. "No matter what he wants to do, I will not let him hurt you." "Absolutely not." Seeing the determination in her eyes, a sense of calm suddenly settled over me. That's right, with her here, what was there to be afraid of? In the following days, that young Masterly indeed did not come looking for trouble. My life with Su Wanqing returned to its peaceful state. She spent her days with me, reading, watching movies, and taking walks. At night, she held me as we slept. I found myself growing more and more dependent on her, even beginning to actively seek her affection. Sometimes, when she was busy with work, I would obediently sit beside her and wait. The moment she had a free moment, I would throw myself into her arms. She always smiled and said I was becoming more and more like a clingy kitten. That evening, while we were watching a movie, Su Wanqing's phone suddenly rang. She glanced at the caller ID, and her expression instantly darkened. "What's wrong?" I asked her. She didn't say anything, just answered the phone, her tone icy. "What is it?" I don't know what was said on the other end, but her face grew increasingly grim, and she eventually just hung up. "What happened?" I asked again, a sense of unease creeping into my heart. She took a deep breath and patted my head. "It's nothing, just a small matter." But I could feel the annoyance and anger in her heart, even stronger than when that young Masterly came last time. Is that young Masterly causing trouble again? She hesitated for a moment, then nodded. "He told my parents about us. They wanted to go back tomorrow." "Then, are you going back?" I was a little worried. It would be hard for me to be here alone if she left. She held me, resting her chin on my head. "I have to go back. Otherwise, they will definitely come here themselves, and that will be troublesome." "What about me then?" "You be good and wait for me here, okay?" She lifted my face, looking at me seriously. "I'll be back soon." I nodded, but my heart was filled with unease. The next morning, Su Wanqing woke up very early. As she was changing, I kept my eyes on her, reluctant to see her go. She seemed to read my mind, walked over, and hugged me. "Don't worry, I'll be back really soon." She kissed my face several times before leaving with reluctance. Not long after she left, I started to feel unwell all over. My heart was in a panic, and I couldn't sit still. I paced back and forth in the room, feeling as if time was passing incredibly slowly. About 2 hours later, the door to the villa suddenly opened. I thought it was Su Wanqing who had returned and quickly ran out, only to see her parents and that young Masterly. Their faces were all grim, especially Su Wanqing's mother, who frowned the moment she saw me. "Are you the wild brat who seduced my daughter?" Su Wanqing's mother pointed at me, her tone fierce. I was so scared I took a step back, not knowing what to do. That young Masterly walked up to me and looked at me smugly. "It's him, Dad, Mom. You see, Wanqing was deceived by him." Su Wanqing's father's face was ashen as he said coldly, "Throw him out." The bodyguards nearby immediately walked towards me. I closed my eyes in fear, and just then, I suddenly felt a surge of power. This power was strange, as if it could influence other people's emotions. I opened my eyes, looked at Su Wanqing's mother, and thought silently in my heart, "Don't be angry, I'm not a bad person." Unexpectedly, Su Wanqing's mother actually calmed down, and her gaze softened a bit. I was stunned. What was happening? That young Masterly noticed something was wrong and pushed me. "What are you looking at? Get lost." I was almost pushed to the ground by him, and I was very angry. I looked at him and thought in my heart, "You are very annoying. You shouldn't be here." He suddenly frowned, looking very irritated, and muttered, "What bad luck. Why would I come to a place like this?" After he finished speaking, he actually turned and left. Su Wanqing's parents were both stunned, not knowing what had happened. I looked at them and thought again in my heart, "Wanqing likes me very much. You should bless us." Their eyes slowly became dazed, and then they nodded. "Since Wanqing likes you, we won't object anymore," Su Wanqing's father said. "That's right. As long as Wanqing is happy," Su Wanqing's mother added. After they finished speaking, they also turned and left. I stood there, still not having processed what had happened. What on earth was going on? Could it be my power? Just then, Su Wanqing returned. Seeing me alone in the villa, she asked in surprise, "Where are my parents?" I told her what had just happened. After listening, she smiled and stroked my head. "You're amazing. But what on earth is going on?" "This is your ability. All succubi have the power to bewitch people's hearts," she said with a smile. "And when you're near me, this ability becomes stronger and the aura you emit becomes more attractive." I suddenly understood. So that's how it was. Just now, were you secretly instructing me? I looked at her, a thought suddenly occurring to me. She paused for a moment, then smiled and nodded. Yes, I was afraid you couldn't handle it, so I helped a little. My heart felt a little complicated. It turned out that I was only able to solve the trouble because of her. But you did very well. She hugged me and kissed my cheek. From now on, with me here, you don't have to be afraid of anything. I nodded, my heart settling down. From then on, I became more and more skilled at using this power to bewitch people. As long as Su Wanqing was by my side, my ability would become very strong. Sometimes, if the maids in the villa were disobedient, I only needed to glance at them, and they would obediently listen. That young masterly came looking for trouble a few more times, but I always sent him away using my ability. Every time he saw me, he would feel inexplicably afraid and then leave in disgrace. Su Wanqing became more and more satisfied with me, and also more and more inseparable from me. She spent almost every day in the villa with me and rarely went to the company anymore. Our relationship became more and more intimate, and I grew more and more dependent on her. Sometimes, I would lean into her embrace and ask, "Will you always be with me?" She would always hold me tightly and say earnestly, "Of course I will. Always." I believed her because I knew we were already inseparable. That night, as we lay in bed, Su Wanqing held me and talked for a long time. She said she was very lonely as a child. Her parents were busy with work and rarely spent time with her. She said it was only after meeting me that she felt true happiness. Listening to her words, I was deeply moved and took the initiative to kiss her on the cheek. She laughed and held me even tighter. "Lin Mo," she lifted my face, looking at me seriously. "Let's never be apart, okay?" I nodded, tears welling in my eyes. "Okay, never apart." From then on, we truly were never apart again. Life in the villa was peaceful and happy. I knew I could never leave Su Wanqing in this lifetime. Although this life wasn't what I originally wanted, I was very content now, because having her by my side was enough. Sometimes, that young masterly would still watch us from a distance, but he never dared to come and cause trouble again. Su Wanqing's parents also accepted me and would occasionally come to the villa to see us. Their attitude toward me got better and better, and sometimes they would even bring me gifts. I knew this was all because of my abilities and also because of Su Wanqing's instructions. But I didn't care. As long as I could be with Su Wanqing, nothing else mattered. This afternoon, we were sunbathing in the garden again. I lay on Su Wanqing's lap as she told me a story. The warm sunlight on my body felt very comfortable. "Lin Mo, look, don't the clouds in the sky look like cotton candy?" she said, pointing at the clouds. I looked up and nodded. "They do." She laughed and gave me a kiss on the cheek. I snuggled into her embrace, feeling very happy. Perhaps this is the best home for me. With her by my side, I am not afraid of anything. I close my eyes, enjoying this moment of peace and happiness. I know that days like this will continue forever, never ending, because I am hers, and she is mine, and we will never be apart. Even if one day my powers disappear, I will always be with her. Because I can no longer leave her, it was destined from the moment I acknowledged her as my master. Su Wanqing seemed to sense my thoughts and held me tighter. "What's wrong?" she asked, looking down at me. "Nothing." I looked up and smiled at her. "I just feel so happy." She paused for a moment, then smiled sweetly. "Me too." She lowered her head and kissed me on the lips. The kiss was very gentle, full of love. I closed my eyes, savoring this kiss, my heart filled with happiness. I knew that my life was already tightly bound with hers. No matter what the future holds, I will be with her, walking on until the end, because she is my master and also the only person I have ever loved in this life. The sunlight continued to shine warmly on us, and the flowers in the garden bloomed brilliantly. Everything was so beautiful, just like our future.